Welcome to The Voices of War, a podcast with a simple vision to bring to life the true costs of war through the voices of those who've lived it. I'm Maz, and I speak to soldiers, academics, refugees, peacemakers, and anyone else who's been touched by war in the hope of demystifying and, most importantly, de-glorifying it. If you like what you hear, please consider showing your support by reviewing the show wherever you get your pods. You can also support us on our Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee page. Links to both are in the show notes. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy this episode. My guest today is Dmytro Gurin, who is a currently serving member of parliament in Ukraine, representing a district in Kiev. However, much like many of his colleagues, he is currently in an undisclosed location due to credible threats of assassination by Russian forces or contractors. Dmytro is originally from Mariupol, the besieged city in southeastern Ukraine that is capturing global headlines, where he has spent his childhood and where he went to university. In the past, Dmytro has also spent more than a decade living in Moscow and is very familiar with Russian political and media machinations. He joins me today just after midday on Sunday, 13th of March, Eastern European time, to discuss the evolving Russian invasion of Ukraine with a particular focus on its impact on the civilian population. Dmytro, thank you very much for joining me on the Voices of War.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
We are now in the 18th day of the invasion. How are you personally holding up?
I'm okay. I just want to comment about undisclosed location. That it's not like where everybody afraid of, this Russian troops that will kill us because we're in the shooting list. So we are really in the shooting lists. I checked with intelligence 3 of my friends, and all of them were also in the shooting list, like me. But it's not why we are in undisclosed locations. We just don't say where we are, just not to help Russia to kill us one by one. But I think half of the members of parliament are under Russian sanctions, and I think Russia wants to kill them all. So we are all in Ukraine. All of us, government, president, MPs, we're all working on different fronts. Everybody on their front. I'm on the information front because I'm from media and worked on my life in media and digital communications. So we are fighting. We have 18 days of a war, and we understand. I think when the war begins, you're shocked in the beginning, and you think that it will last very short period, week, 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks you understand that it will last long. And even when we see that Russia started to collapse, economically, it will take a lot of time anyway, because we have history. We have we remember what was going on during the First World War, and Russia had this war more than a lot of time after its economy collapsed. So I think it's now it's already a question of month, but we see that the war became more and more in Russia, and we see by prisoners, by talks of prisoners of war, we see that the morale in Russian army is totally low and is dropping. And the soldiers understood, because everybody thought their brains are washed with propaganda, and everybody thought they will have 3 days blitzkrieg, and everybody will meet them with flowers. And now we're meeting them, we are ready to give flowers just to their funerals, and we are not really ready to do it because it's money, and we need money for other things now. And the main joke is in the beginning of of the invasion, the main joke was Russian soldiers, please put some flower seeds in your pockets to just for all of this to have any sense.
Yeah,
some sense, because it's senseless. Totally, put some seeds, please, because you have fertilizer, and we want to see flowers on the places where you.
That's a really interesting, that's a really interesting point, because I mean, I've seen that meme, but you and I spoke just briefly before. I mean, I'm from the city of Sarajevo, which as you know fully well, was a besieged city, in not too distant past, and humor. In the spirit of the Sarajevan and the Bosnian nationhood, humor played a critical role, and I'm finding that is, and you're in the information space. We're seeing so many memes coming out that are. I mean, it's crazy to call it funny, because it's war. People are dying. How do you see that? What do you see is the role of humor right now in Ukraine?
I think that we would die from stress if we didn't have humor, because it's not really possible. All what's going on, it's not really possible to think that it's not possible to survive without humor now, because all the stories, when you hear them from people who evacuated from Bucha, from Irpin, from Gostomel, from Kharkiv, from Mariupol, first of all, and from my parents' stories, from my parents in Mariupol, it's so awful. So without humor, it's we all would die from stress.
Yeah,
and humor helps us really.
Absolutely.
And in general, we have a totally different situation that was in the beginning of this war, because it started more than 2 weeks ago. It started like an ordinary war, army against army, and we beat their asses on the battlefield. And it's they understood it's not like easy walk. It will be not like 3 days blitzkrieg all over the Ukraine. And they changed tactics a little bit more than a week ago, like 9 days ago. They changed tactics. They had in the Russian army, soldiers got at first permission to kill civilians, and 2 days ago, on some directions, they had order to kill civilians. So they already had order, and they decided that if we all resist, because now 8 of 10 Ukrainians are ready to shoot, and 8 of 10 Ukrainians are in army or helping the army. And if we all resist, so let's kill them all. It's not, it's not something new for Russia. They did it several times during the last 300 years. And people who knows history well, they don't trust this, Soviet narrative about one nation, all this shit that Russian propaganda brainwashed their citizens and tried to brainwash Ukrainian people during last, from in the 20th century. So, I lived in Russia during 12 years during Putin regime before the Maidan, and I understood that the war is inevitable and it will be really bloody. Because they don't. It's like Israel against the Arabian world. Russia doesn't allow us. They just doesn't allow us to exist in their minds. They think that there is no any Ukraine, and there is no Ukrainian nations, and it's not about Putin. Putin first of all, but it's not about Putin. It's the common in Russia. It's like on the creative industries everywhere, on the financial sector, like I'm talking about top level, and people saying, what, Ukraine? I'm sorry, you don't have stock market, you don't have economy, you have funny language, ha, ha, ha. Ukraine, it's not a country at all. So that's a real common position.
It's a cultural narrative almost in Russia, is it?
Yeah. And it's not about Putin. It's now Ukraine, some funny people. Yeah, they have borscht and they have vodka also, and we like to go to Kiev to eat some borscht, and Kiev have to be Russian just to borscht to be cheaper for us. That's a logic. And so I understood that the war will be inevitable, but last week, what we have in Ukraine is it's not the war anymore, and everybody have to understand it's mass murdering. It's Bosnia, because now we have some refugees already. They went out from Irpin and Bucha. They went out 3 days ago, and started to tell their stories, and it's really awful. Because Russians, they kill people for food. Yeah, they occupy territory. And we have to understand that Bucha, Irpin, Gostomel is suburbs of Kiev, and these are rich suburbs. So they occupy part of territory, Russians, and they don't have supply because we are blowing up their supply lines.
With the Bayraktars,
And
the whole world is watching.
With the farmers, we already our farmers have NLAW and have javelins. I'm not joking, and they have territorial unit defense have javelins and NLAW. Farmers have Russian weapons because we captured we captured during this war. More weapons than Ukrainian manufactured for the army.
Wow!
So really a lot. So they are occupying territory. They don't have supply, so they need food, and they go to houses and they ask people to give all the food they have, and if they are against it, they are killed. So if you don't give all your food, they kill you. And you cannot go out from a building, from a house, because streets the snipers are in the streets, and they don't shoot, they don't shoot to the air to say, don't go here. No, they kill the moment when they see a person on the street. I don't know if it's more like in Bosnia this.
I mean, as you're talking, I'm getting goosebumps because I remember, just looking out the window, and the snipers were shooting at everything that moved, and because they got bored, they were shooting at the pigeons. They were that bored and they had that much ammunition. They were shooting at pigeons in the street. That certainly resonates with me. I do have a question about you made a point that the morale of the Russian troops is low, but then also that, the Russian population, by and large supports, I guess, the war or the invasion. So how do those two marry up? I mean, if the morale is low, you would expect the soldiers to, I guess, give up, I don't know, run away or simply surrender. But we're not seeing that en masse, are we?
We see it's more, and we see more and more giving up.
Oh, okay.
We have small groups, and every day it started 5 days ago. It started to be more and more, massive. More and more small troops go into Russian border, and some go into Ukrainian positions just to give up. And it's pretty interesting. The part of the troops, they are in very low morale, because they understood that we will kill them. All of them who we can kill, we will. And the only possibility to them to give up now. Because I will tell in 5 minutes what they are doing now with our cities. And the other part of troops, they just got mad because we beat them on the battlefield, and they are really angry because they lived in this myth of a great Russian army, and I think it's pretty also for them it's really hard to understand that they are just people without. They see our territorial defense units. They have better equipment than regular Russia army, and it's reality, because we have a war 8 years already, and they just have myth about war. They didn't have real conflicts. Russian army. So the second part of army got mad. and they kill people for fun.
Yeah.
I talked with a refugee yesterday from Irpin, and she told me stories. My blood was boiled.
Boiling.
And that Russians they kill people for fun, not only for food. For food, that something that it's awful, but it can have some practical sense. No, they kill people for fun. But Russian army, they understood that they are not invited here because they were brainwashed that everybody is waiting for them, that there is a Nazi country. That is a Nazi government over our Russian people were captured in Ukraine by control of Nazis. That's a myth that they are brainwashed with, and we have, and they understood it's not true.
I guess now they really understand, right? Now they really
understand. Yes, and now they are going to Ukraine, and now they see that we have roads already because they don't have in Russia, because we have the biggest and most popular reform in Ukraine. It's decentralization, and first of all, finance decentralization, and the most successful and most popular reform in Ukraine, it's decentralization, and first of all, financial decentralization. And now the budgets of local self-government during the last 8 years, they multiplied 4 times. And if we count state programs for development of regions, it's 6 times.
Okay.
So we have now roads also in villages also, and we have a huge roads program all over the country. And because we were a state without roads, this classic Eastern post-Soviet state, and not anymore. And the Russians, we have from the prisoners from that side, and from audio, we catch the audio phone calls, and they say, we don't understand why we are here. They live better here than us. And they have roads in villages. And this story about roads in villages, repeat it in different people, in the different phone calls that we catch. So they understood, because you also need time to get something, to really understand something. And they understood that we don't want to see them. So they decided, a week ago, to terrorize us. So if we cannot break you on the battlefield, win you on the battlefield, we will just kill you all. That's the new tactics. And in Mariupol, now there is no heating, water, gas, electricity, mobile network. Only several spots in the city have mobile network, and during several hours per day, because every day we repair the mobile tower, and every day they hit it with artillery or something else. And so it's medieval siege. All the city is blocked. All the roads and fields around are mined by Russian side. And people, it's mousetrap with 350,000 people. And all of these people are in Mariupol because they couldn't believe Russia will bomb Russian-speaking city. Because Mariupol is 95% Russian-speaking city. Yeah. And my parents is in Mariupol because of this. They couldn't believe. They thought that Russian army will go, very fast through Mariupol. We'll just block it, and it will be, and they will sit there because they are 67 and 69, and they already ran from the war 8 years ago, and they decided they are too old to run again, and they couldn't imagine what Russia will do. And frankly speaking, even me understanding in Russia is I couldn't imagine the level of madness, because their bombing, the shelling never stops. They drop a bomb, and we're telling about this big uncontrollable bombs from airplanes that you cannot the point to the exact location.
They're not precision guided.
No precision. You just drop them, and it's the big bombs after it's like 6 meter depth, so it's really big. That's a bomb that they drop on the maternity hospital. The hole is 6 meters, 620 feet height, depth. So they drop a bomb every 30 minutes on the city. It's totally destroyed all the communications, and they cannot be repaired because they're bombing and bombing and bombing. They shoot from artillery without any stops. And yesterday they started to shoot from tanks to 9-story buildings. So these multi-apartment buildings, they're just shooting them from the tanks. Of course, all the people now live in basements. And it's not, bomb shelters, it's just basements of these 9-story classic Soviet buildings. And they don't have water. They don't have food already. They melt snow for water. They use water from a battery system, from a radiator system. They have some in the buildings, and they have some food. That like storages that people had preservation and so on. Of course, no shops. Everything from the shops were already taken. No medicine. All the hospitals in the city are bombed. The maternity hospital, children's hospital, central hospital, emergency units. So everything destroyed. My school is destroyed. My university is destroyed. They are just decided to destroy the whole city. I lived in 15 years. In the district where I grew up, there is no even trees anymore, because some of trees were destroyed by artillery and air bombing, and some of the trees were cut to prepare food, because people prepare food on the open fire. And when I think about my parents, 67 and 69, who are preparing food on the open fire and live already more than a week without any heating, and it's below zero there, I just can't imagine it. It doesn't fit in my head.
Have you spoken to your parents? Are you keeping in touch with them, or are you able to keep in touch?
Once in 3 days during 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I know their life, and that's all. That's the only thing I know. I think they took Mariupol as a target, and decided to destroy the city to show everybody that they can. It's nothing. There is no any difference between this destroying city and using tactical nuke. Really, the only difference is that they're doing it slowly, and and bodies lays on the streets a lot. It's they just during the last 8 days they took bodies, around 1,500 people bodies from the streets, and that's only what they collected.
And they're now burying him in mass burials as well, right? I mean,
and they have mass burials, and nobody knows how many people bodies are in the destroyed buildings on the rumble, and much more. Everybody understands that much more, several times more, 10,000, 12,000. Nobody knows exactly.
And can people get out? I mean, is there any way to get out of Mariupol at the moment?
No. There's no way. Yesterday, 5 cars went out, and they just went out through minefields. So just it's lottery. You can imagine. It's everything around is hardly mined. The roads are mined, fields are mined. It's all the these God steps. Everything is mined, and they shoot cars. They shoot civilian cars that trying to escape. They have an order not to give anybody the possibility to exit the city. So they just decided to destroy the city to show what they can to Ukraine and to everybody, and to make hunger in the middle of Europe for 350,000 people that are trapped now in Mariupol in this mousetrap. So I think the main thing that your audience have to understand, they won't stop. Ukraine is just the beginning. They won't stop. They don't have the possibility to stop anymore, because they understand when they stop, they go to The Hague. They go to the court and to a tribunal, and they cannot stop. If they stop, they die. So Ukraine and Baltic states and Poland is just the question of where is your line, guys. I mean, of not exactly yours, but in general, the civilized world. Where is the line? Because if this line is hunger in the center of Europe for 350,000, not because we don't have food, just because somebody decided that we will make a hunger, and anybody who will try to escape, we will kill this person. Or this red line is a bomb to the maternity hospital in Warsaw, or I don't know, or in Berlin. And when the European leaders are saying that they trust in dialogue with Russia, we in Ukraine joking that they will have a dialogue. They will talk even with Russian soldiers in Berlin cafe. Yeah, they will talk with them. So they will have this dialogue until the end. And the World War III started already. It just now it's the matter of time when everybody joins. I hope on the right side. And now it's the question of where do you have this war, guys? On Ukrainian territory or on your territory? That is your choice.
I mean, I can again, as a ethnic Bosnian, I can totally empathize with the sense of helplessness and the bewilderment and the amazement that the world could stand by and watch. I think it's a cruel reality of interests, competing against values, right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But the problem is that the big war. No, I talked before. The big war is inevitable, and now we have different situation. The big war is already started. So the only difference is where you guys will have this war, on our territory, Ukraine territory, on yours. So in what moment will you join us? When the war is still on Ukraine territory, or when the war already comes to yours? Because the people, there are two types. One type is not dropping the bombs on maternity hospital. They just can't. They can't press this button. And another type who can do it. And if this second type who can drop a bomb on a maternity hospital, it's not the point for them. Where is this maternity hospital located? In Warsaw, in Kiev, in Berlin, in Mariupol. So they will just go further.
Yeah, how do you see this unfolding, given the fact that Western capitals are very resistant to either enforcing a no-fly zone or openly declaring war on Russia? And I'd be surprised if that happens. I'm sure you would be surprised if that happens in the near future. How do you see this going forward, especially given the fact that what you've identified as a real possibility of Russian soldiers, giving up en masse, the morale being low, What are the avenues that actually can bring this to a quick resolution?
I think that situation, I think that everybody wants to wait because everybody have seen that Ukrainian army resists and it can stop the Russian troops. And we understand that sanctions for Russia, it's something that nobody have seen before at all. Not sanctions for the reserves, for the currency gold reserves, national. Yeah. It's something unbelievable. It's something that nobody even don't understand how it will work exactly because nobody have seen it before. And of course, the time plays on our side, of course. And I think that Mr. Putin wants NATO to join this war. He wants to strike nukes on the European cities. And I understand the position to come. But I think it's important what European the nations say, people say, not the leaders, because all these stories from refugees from the cities where Russian army kill people for fun, they're starting to spread, and these people with black faces. I've never seen faces like this before, because it's like people have seen something that they will never forget. And I think you as a Bosnian, you understand what I'm telling about. And they started to tell this story, and this story is spreading. And I think that now in several days, all the world will hear the stories about mass murdering. And, it depends on us what will be the Mariupol in the world history, or it will be the, rebuild city that we will build again as a symbol, or it will be in one line with Treblinka and Auschwitz, because 350,000 people. And by the way, about the story with hunger, Russia never changes. They did it 100 years ago in much bigger scales. It's our national tragedy, Holodomor. The same way, totally. They blocked territories. They took all the food, and they killed everybody who tried to escape. My family, part of my family, they ran out from this blocked territory. They lived near the Kharkiv, and they ran 100 years ago by accident with 10 children. And their methods never changes. It's a cruel army that kills civilians. And their commanders, they give permission. And one moment, they give an order. They say, kill all the civilians you see. And it's not Putin, who pressed this button, and not Putin who give this order.
Yeah. I mean, you've spent a lot of time in what you said, 12 years in Russia. And given what you said about what the everyday Russian thinks about the invasion, for a while we were hearing potential whispers and maybe hope of, an internal revolution inside Russia to stop the war. How do you feel about that now? Do you still have any communication with people in Russia at all? And what is the dominant narrative there? And is it shifting at all towards this not being a special operation, but being a genuine war and an invasion of a sovereign nation?
It's pretty difficult to answer your question because all my friends I had there, they're already out of country. The last of them 2 weeks ago when the war started. Like in several days, all of them were out. And I don't know what Russian population thinks about this country. I think that in any country, when country starts a war, people at first moment, people are trying to think that it will be they will have a victory, that it will be the short war, just weeks, and we will win, and it's that some kind of national story. But when they start to get bodies of their soldiers, of course the situation changes. But we have Russia as our counterpart, and they just don't take bodies of their soldiers. They just don't leave. They just leave them. So the Russian society, they don't know that people die in there because they just leave the bodies, and we don't know what to do with them. We had we used to special refrigerate. We had a problem in Ukraine because we don't have enough refrigerators. These we killed already 13,000 of Russian soldiers.
How many?
It's a lot.
How many?
13.
Wow.
13,000. And it's really a lot.
Yeah.
And we have evidences that they killed their wounded. And first, and then we understood that they have huge logistic problems, and they cannot get these troops, wounded to the hospitals.
To the hospitals, yeah.
It's just too difficult. So they kill them. We cannot imagine in Ukraine to kill our soldier. It's it's really something very medieval what's going on here. But if you want to understand, you and the audience of your podcast want to understand better what's going on, I think that you have to read Winter War, about war in Finland, 1939, because everything is just the same. I think they have, this small book, 30 pages with instructions how to make a playbook, how to make a war with your neighbor, and they have it already 120 years, or I don't know, 100 years more, 200 years, and they do the same. So nothing changed. 80 years gone and nothing changed. The same Finland People Republic. The same story that is our people who are, controlled by Nazis. Everything is the same. So we are sure that we will win in this war because it's the war for our existence.
Yeah.
And everybody now sees that they don't want to control. They want to destroy and kill all of us. It's hard to believe, but it's we don't have to hear what they say, because Mr. Lavrov says in the morning that it was Nazis' nest, as we say, nest of pregnant Nazis in a maternity hospital, and a day. He says that there were no any bombing of, and all of this is just a movie and staged. And in several hours, he says that we are making biological weapons that can kill, by nation. So that kills only Russians, and we want to spread it with pigeons. So we don't have to listen to this bullshit. We have to see what they're doing. And they now shooting from tanks, the multi-apartments building, 9 stories building, 12 stories building, just from tanks.
Yeah, straight from the.
So
battle,
yeah. So they decided to bomb the Mariupol to the ground. And we have to look at this.
So what do you want, Dmytro, what do you want world leaders or Western world leaders to do right now to help Ukraine? What does Ukraine need?
Ukraine needs more support. As I said, we understand that we will win because we don't have just any other option. They want to destroy us and kill us all, and not the first time in the history. They did do it, I think, around every 100 years. And we need more weapons. We need more volunteers, more finances for microfinance stabilization, and we need help with our refugees. And you give all of this, and you can't imagine how grateful we are. But the week ago, this war went to another stage. It's mass murdering. And now, when war started, everybody were ready, to sanctions against the war, to move. That the Russian moved and everybody answered with their moves. But now it's mass murdering, and nobody wait that we will have like mass murdering in 2022 in the center of Europe, like hunger. And nobody understands now how to react. And we're asking about green corridors. It's the main thing now because our guys beating Russian armies on the battlefield, and they decided to kill our parents and our children. And I can imagine that the whole world that united around Ukraine cannot, decide the problem with hunger in the center of Europe, just artificially made. And that all the world together cannot get people out from mousetraps. Because if we cannot do it, so what do we can? We have one maniac with nuclear weapons, and everybody. So what we are just he's killing, destroying one city, killing another hundreds of thousands of people, and we're just looking at this. Guys, maniac don't stop. And we understand already that Putin. There is now a discussion that if Putin is mad from medicine point of view, medically, and I think that situation is a little bit more difficult. There are for a long time already rumors about cancer. We have some information that he had cancer, some proofs he had cancer already in 2012. And our National Institute of Cancer Specialists say that it looks like the brain cancer that press on a movement center in the brain. Because if you pay attention on his legs, first of all, you will see that something weird is going on. And it's not Parkinson, because Parkinson, it's the whole body, these movements from Parkinson, the whole body is affected. And in his case, it's only on the legs. And our doctors from National Institute of Cancer, they say that it's pretty standard situation for some brain cancers, but no good news, guys. You can live with brain cancer for a lot of types of brain cancer for a long time on chemistry, for a long time, really, even if it's not you cannot operate it, you cannot do surgery. But I think I'm cancer survivor. I had cancer twice, and I know that everybody who had cancer say the same story. That the only thing you can think when you got diagnosed is what I didn't do in my life.
What haven't I achieved that I wanted to achieve? Yeah.
What I haven't achieved. So what leaders to do? Leaders have that World War III is started already. At second, they have to open their eyes and read the polls, and in Europe and in America, what people think. what the electorate think about it. And they will see the level of support, and they have to think about their next elections. I think it's a really important thing for them in democratic societies. So we need any possible method to get our people, our elderly, our children, our women. If you cannot give us to close the sky, okay, close the sky over, cities of humanitarian disaster, humanitarian catastrophe. It's, because I think that a little bit more, and you remember the story, like Irish fishermen from Ireland, as I remember, they decided they don't like that Russia want to make the trainings in the country, and they just went and said, "Oh no, we won't do it." So if it goes like it goes, I think like in a week, fishermen just together, or Mariupol is mined for it, Berdyansk is not mined, just to get people out from there. Because if leaders cannot do, people will do. We are in a new society, in a new world now, in the media world now, and everybody is seeing what's going on. And I would add several words about Russia. I think that they will have a collapse of economy. Everybody there understands it already, who can think, who have brains. That the popularity of this war is dropping dramatically, and almost half of the population, I think now more already, think that Russia is making, that Russia is aggressor. But as I said, they haven't seen the bodies of their soldiers, because they don't take these bodies. They don't bring them home so easy, so simple decision of this problem. And but I think they will be shocked very soon. And they don't understand yet that they will have a problem with food during the next season. I mean, next autumn and winter. And they're totally now unconnected from the whole world. And they will become North Korea. And it's not because in the world everybody think how it's possible, and the Russians will become North Korea. Is it okay to them? Everybody have to understand that to make North Korea the military dictator from Russia, it's the goal of Mr. Putin. And he is really dying, unhappy, very ill man. And of course, this person can press a red button, of course. And frankly speaking, I'm sure that we will see the tactical nuke. I think that a Russian population, it will not resist. They just don't have this practices, structures. Because if you want to make revolution, you need structures, you need networks of people. And they are destroying in Russia all the structures with national policy. And I went to them. They have opposition, and this opposition works on YouTube, shows, and I gave them a big interview, like half an hour interview. And they're sitting and talking about what's all of this is not right, and we understand that Putin is your enemy, and Putin is our enemy also, and all of this blah blah and another shit. And I talked to them, and I understood that in Ukraine, in this program, that 30,000 people were live, 30,000 people live of this program. In Ukraine, we trained, in this case, we would train everybody to make Molotov cocktails. Because, if you will have in your country the problems with YouTube, and it's your, last days to tell somebody something useful in Russian circumstances, of course, in our country, we would explain how to make Molotov cocktail because it's the most useful in this situation. And they're just blah, blah. So I don't expect any, revolution, organized revolution, real revolution. I think that the possibilities are, it's a military coup, because army doesn't like what's going on. And now the only persons who press, who push this war is Putin and Shoigu, Minister of Defense. And military coup, or just a total chaos. I can imagine total chaos in Russia, and I think that Russian Federation will collapse. I prognose it for 2024, but now I think it can be like it can start already in the end of this year, maybe the spring of next year. So I think we won't see pretty soon the Russia as we used it to see, as we see it now. I think because people in Tatarstan or people in Bashkortostan, they don't really understand why they have to die on the war against Ukrainians. And people from Chechnya, who is under control of Kadyrov, it's like Alaric for Roman emperors, like barbarians on the service of Roman emperors. They have the same function, and it's very the Chechnya. It's very, very special situation because Russia lose the war to Chechnya. Because Russia pays like incredible money to Chechnya. Russia, all these years, Russia pays to Chechnya, in fact, reparations. And Chechens, they control a lot of economic low-level, mid-level businesses all over the Russia, and they are uncontrollable. They're just the Kadyrov just says that we will on the live in Instagram. Yeah, it's blocked already. Sorry, Ramzan. And he said on his Instagram that we will kill the family of Chechen judge of High Court, and all his family. They have to be dead. Just. Yeah. Or Instagram or on television on live, so they uncontrollable. There is no Russian law there. So in reality, Chechen won in this war, in that war. So it's very special situation. But other nations inside Russia, they don't understand why they have to die in this very stupid war. So my prognosis is that this war. The world will see these incredible stories from Ukraine. The world is very, now united around Ukraine, and people in the world, nobody waited. We will resist like this. Everybody thought that Ukraine will fall. Frankly speaking, we didn't understand, and we told everybody, guys, why we have to fall. We like Russia. The interesting thing, Russia didn't have wars. The last real war in Russia that was the war with Chechnya, and it was beginning of 2000. So and they they terrorized civilians. They just destroyed Grozny, the biggest the capital of Chechnya. Of course, yeah. And then what wars did they have? Like the Georgia. I'm sorry, it's a nice joke. Like Russia against Georgia. Like what? Like Syria they just bombed civilians from planes. Like what? Where? What conflict? Where their army had to train? Yeah, if you want your army have to be effective, your army have to take part in wars. It's so easy, nothing more. And we have 440,000 people that rotated through the front line during these 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference.
It's
between people
huge,
who were.
Yeah.
It's a big difference between the people who heard the sound of bullets and who didn't.
Yeah.
And we understand that it's our land, our parents, our children, and there is nowhere to escape for us from here.
And what's been incredible for us in the West to watch has been the uprising of the people, and also the kind of social media play out. We're seeing, urban warfare experts give advice to people in Kiev on how to make Molotov cocktails, how to make barricades. It's a different level of warfare. I mean, you're an informations expert, but this is something very different, and that's also, I feel, brought the world or has brought Ukraine into everybody's pocket, on the smartphone, which then, of course, is bringing a lot of support, at least in spirit, to Ukraine. And that's something new.
We have a nation now. We always had it, but always it were questions. And now we are Russian. Some people are Russian speaking, and there are some differences, and all of this blah blah. And now everybody understands that we are the nation, and nobody says it's wrong or it's not real.
Yeah.
And when you have a nation, you can just give people weapons, and you understand that they won't kill each other. And we have a very big we had a very big discussion for several years, for a long time, about weapons for civilians. And every half of a year, we have a new project of the law. Now it's forbidden. A new project of the law to give the personal, rifles and the personal weapon for civilians. You understand? And when the war started, when the first rockets dropped, everybody understood that's now is the time, and we started to just spread automatic rifles on the street.
Yeah.
I took my Kalashnikov in 6 hours after the rockets, and I don't know how to shoot when my Kalashnikov is in the territorial defense unit because that's true. But I have it now. I don't think I will. I can have it after the war because I think it's the war. It will be somewhere in good hands, and but we're not afraid of it anymore. These all these recipes from the Minister of Defense of cocktail Molotov. It's uniting country because everybody are really afraid now and very nervous. And to make Molotov cocktail, it's something simple and useful that you can do. And we have one more very interesting effect of the war that after this Russian battleship "Go fuck yourself." The famous man. Our official started swelling, and it's okay now.
Incredible.
In official messages, not just like in videos and Instagram. In official messages. So it looks really weird, really, but it's okay for everybody. So we are now in a very, very special time, and of course, it's a time of mass graves, but it's also a time of unity. of Ukraine. And I worked with Ulyana Suprun, who had a minister of healthcare, and I worked in her team to make the healthcare reform. We have our own Ukrainian NHS now. I don't know if Australia have the same system, NHS.
It's similar,
we have. Yeah, similar. We have NHS now, and she was American citizen. She's pretty famous in Ukraine and in all the diaspora, Ukrainian diaspora states. And she went to Ukraine like a week before Maidan. She decided that with her husband, he's also diasporan, and he's from Canada, and they decided that's our moment to come back to Ukraine and build this country. And they came back to Ukraine, and Maidan started in a week.
Wow!
In the most interesting moment. And this diaspora people, they're holders of Ukrainian history. Because and Ukrainian culture, that you can't kill the Ukrainian spirit while Ukrainian diaspora exists. And she told me a very interesting thing, that it's that all of us, all of Ukrainians, we went to this moment during 400 years. Moved to the situation when we will beat Russia. And Russia will not be a threat to us anymore in several years at all. We will win before this war, but they won't be a threat to us, to Europe anymore. They won't have nuclear weapons. They will not be the Russian Federation state anymore. They will not have this huge army, brainwashed army. We won't have it in 4 years. We won't have it anymore. So that's good news.
That's very good news. And I think that's also a very, very good note to end on. My last question is, how can everyday citizens support, citizens around the world support both Ukraine, but also refugees that are now flooding? I think more than 2.5 million have already left Ukraine, mainly through Poland, I guess. But how can everyday citizens help?
In several ways. First, we have official bank accounts in our national bank for humanitarian needs and for army. And it's very easy to find it in internet. Just National Bank of Ukraine, account, Army of Humanitarian. It will show you any money are appreciated. At second, you can take your phone and call to your congressman or senator, a member of parliament office. And to ask him what he personally is doing to all of this bullshit in Ukraine to stop. Yeah, as people who elected him. And the one more thing, and of course to press to close the sky over Ukraine. And one more thing is refugees. Refugees is a problem. We need to save our families, to save our children and parents, elderly. And we really appreciate all the help from European states and Americans, Canada and Australia. It's a huge help. And if you are ready to get some refugees for a year, for several months, just to have them as a part of your family, you always can ask diaspora in your country, and they will know these families, and they will propose to our volunteers who are ready to, who is controlling all this stream of refugees. And of course, Australia is far away from Ukraine. But I think some people will be ready to go to your country because you are the people who are ready to help us. Absolutely.
Dmytro, on that note, I know that we've gone well over our agreed time, and you've got other interviews coming up. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you and your country, men and women, all the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All the best.
All the best.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Voices of War. And since you got this far, please consider showing your support by liking and reviewing the show wherever you catch your pods. Also, if you're able, please consider showing your support through our Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee page. Links to both are in the show notes. Thank you, and until next time.